Good morning, everyone. This is Ida of Created to Create. Welcome back to my channel. I've had a great response from you ladies on the box I created for the Dollar Tree boxes, the little shelving unit that I created to house those boxes. And a lot of the ladies wanted a tutorial, so I'm going to attempt to do a tutorial. Now, if my video happens to cut off, it just cuts me off. I never know when that happens. My phone will record X amount of minutes, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't cut off. If it happens to cut off in the middle of my doing something and we're not done constructing the whole box, that means there is a part 2. So look out for part 2, and I will name them part 1 and part 2, or however many short clips it takes to finish this box. I'm not going to decorate it. I'm just going to construct it, and that you guys will pretty much know how to decorate it. You don't need me to do that. But I'm going to show you how I put my box together, and that is the box that is housing the little Dollar Tree boxes. I'm going to show you how I got my measurements in case you're using a different box. That way you can find the measurements for your box. So let's get started, because I don't want to take too much time talking, because I want to hopefully be able to get through it pretty quick. So I'm going to remove this, and I have a Dollar Tree box right here. So the first thing I did to my Dollar Tree box, I did cut off this little tab right here. And all I did was take a blade, like an X-Acto knife or something like that. And pretty much they come right off. So I took off that little tab that it has. And if it has a little sharp edge, you can just turn it on the side and it'll cut it right off, and you won't have any sharp edges. So that's how I did that. So I just took that off. Now, to get my measurements for this box, I work on a grid that has measurements, so I can use my grid, but for this I'm going to use my ruler so you guys can see. I like the Tim Holtz ruler because it has the center point where you can find the center to something, and a lot of times that comes in handy. And then it has the metal strip here, so if I'm cutting with an X-Acto knife, I can run the blade right up against that metal piece. That's just my preference. So what I did was I measured the width of the box, measures 7 inches exact, and then the across, it measures 4 3/4, almost I'm sorry, yeah, I'm going to say 4 7/8, because it's almost to the 5, not quite, because of the little hinges. These little tabs back here, they stick out a little bit more. So I like to leave a little extra room, and because I wanted to make sure they fit perfectly, I did it at 5 inches. Don't do it exactly the size of your box. Always you want to give it a little, like 2/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. I wouldn't give it more than that, but I would give it more room. So I decided that this was a 5 inch by, even though this measures 7, I wanted to give it that extra 1/4 of an inch. So I did it by 7 1/4. But on my first one, on my second one, I decided to give it another 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to tell you why. But that's how you're going to find the measurements on your box, no matter what box you're using. And then, of course, you got to measure the height of your box. And this one measures a little under an inch. Yeah, it measures a little under an inch. It's like almost 7/8 of an inch, almost an inch. And I gave it another 1/4 of an inch to give it room, because sometimes we have some of these that are decorated, and two, because I wanted to be able to stick my hands are little, but they're chunky, so I didn't want to have to be worrying I'm trying to pull out that box. So I wanted to have plenty of room. So just make sure you give yourself enough room that you can slide your boxes in and out without too much trouble. So no matter what box you're using, that's how you're going to want to measure. You're going to measure across, give it an extra 1/4 of an inch. You want to measure this way and give it between a 1/4 of an inch and a 1/2 an inch. I would say a 1/2 an inch on this side, because, and then I'm going to explain to you as we go along. And then of course the depths, I also gave it another 1/4 of an inch. So if this measures an inch, I want my shelving to be 1 1/4 inches. That way there's no trouble getting in and out. So this is for these Dollar Tree boxes, but I already showed you how to get the dimensions for any box that you are working with. Now, what you're going to need for this, you're going to need 9 sheets of regular chipboard that measures, I use the 8.5 by 11 chipboard, and I use 9 sheets, and I did have a lot of bits and pieces left over, so you are going to have some left over, but I usually use it to give dimension to projects and stuff like that. So anyway, you're going to need one piece for the back that measures 7 and 9/16, and I'm going to tell you how to get to the 9/16. You could do it 7.5, but I felt like I needed that little extra inch. I mean, not inch, but eighth. So I did it 7 and 9/16 by 7 and 9/16. So for the back, you're going to need a square that measures 7 and 9/16 by 7 and 9/16 of an inch. How do you get to 9/16 of an inch? Usually we're working quarters. Well, the way you do that is an inch. When we say 1/8 to and 1/8, 5 and 5/8, when we're talking about eighths, is that the inch is divided into 8 pieces. And there's little, this is not a good ruler for that. Let me see if I can find something that is better for that. Yeah. I don't know if you can see this because it's silver. But anyway, see those little lines there? The bigger lines are the ones where the inch is divided into eighths. But the little smaller in between lines, those are the 16th. That's when an inch is divided into 16 parts. So that's how I got the 9/16. But if you, it doesn't have to be. This is just me. You could do it to a 1/2 inch instead of the 9/16 the way I did. So in other words, instead of being 7 and 9/16, it would be 7.5 by 7.5. If you want to go that way. So there. Anyway, so you're going to need, and they're going to measure 5 inches across and 7 and 9/16. And right here I put cut 4. You're going to need 4 of these. These are going to be the sides and the top and the bottom of the box, the shelving unit. And then you're going to need 6 pieces that measure 5 inches. If you notice, the 5 inches is we're keeping the only thing that's not 5 inches wide is the back of the box. Everything else is 5 inches wide by, this one is 10 inches, and this is going to be the shelving piece where our boxes are going to be, where our boxes go. So that's what that is. And you're going to need 6 of these. So they're 5 by 10 inches, and you're going to cut 6. And now I'm going to tell you how to get this little cut right here. The way I got this little cut is with my ruler, I found the center, which was at 5 inches, and I marked it, the 5 inches. Let me show you on something else, because sometimes a visual is better. So I took my ruler, and here is the center mark. See my 0 right there? I hope you guys can see that. And then I'm going to put my ruler where there's equal amounts. See the 5 over here and the 5 over here? The numbers on either side have to be exact. So that's how I find my the center of my my piece that I cut out, and I brought it in from the edge 3/4 of an inch. How do I know it's 3/4 of an inch? Because the Tim Holtz ruler has 1/4 inch sections. So there's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So there's 3/4 of an inch in, because I wanted to be able to get my box out. So after I found that point, I got a round cylinder, depending how big you want it to be. I set my cylinder down in the center of that. I took a pencil and I just followed that curve that was on my bottle. And then I cut it out with, see the mark right here? I cut it out with an X-Acto knife. That's how I got that After you cut your first one, you don't have to mark all the pieces. You only have to mark one, because after you cut this out with an X-Acto knife, this is your template for your other pieces. So all you have to do, let's say this one didn't have the cut in it. All I would have to do is put them together like this, you know, lined up. And then I would take my pencil or my marker or whatever I'm using and give myself that mark and use, this is what I use, the Fiskars finger blade. And you just put it on your finger like this and you follow that line. That's what I use. If anything I can find on Amazon, I will link it. But you only have to do it in one, because afterwards you have your template to mark the rest of them. So hopefully I explained that well, and it makes it go faster for you instead of marking each and every little panel. So let me move my ruler. So we're going to start constructing these. And now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the ones that are cut, the 6 pieces that are 5 inches by 10 inches, and you're going to take your paper trimmer. And the reason I'm saying a paper trimmer is because this doesn't cut all the way through. And what you're going to want it to do, you're going to want to line this up at 1.25 inches. So right here is my inch, and then I'm going to take it to that extra 1/4 inch. So there's 1.25 inches, and I'm going to just take my blade and I'm going to run it up and down. And what it does, it'll score it. It'll put like a perforated cut in there, but it doesn't cut all the way through. And you're going to turn this around again at 1.25 inches. There's my 1.25 inches. So I'm using the measurements on this side of my trimmer, not the ones on this side. I'm using the ones on this side. And then I'm going to repeat the process. What happens there is, because you already gave yourself that mark, when we go to make our little shelves, all we have to do is bend it, and it's not cut all the way through. See? It's not cut all the way through. So there's one of our little shelves right there. So what we're going to start off by doing, you're going to need one of your bottom pieces, which are the ones that measure 5 by 9/16, or if you did yours, 7/6. You're going to need this piece that measures, if you're following my measurements, is 7 9/16. If you're doing just a half, it's going to be 5 inches by 7.5. So, that would still work. I just like to give myself a little extra. So I'm going to take one of these, because remember it said to cut 4. So we have 4 of them. So I'm going to take one of these. And what this is the bottom of my box. So I'm going to just take glue. And I'm going to use this glue that was, my friend Carolyn sent it to me. And that's what I'm going to use. You can use whatever you want. You can use hot glue, Fabri-Tac, Beacon 3-in-1, whatever you want. This is just a temporary hold. So you're going to add it right down here on your box, just on that little edge that's folded up. And I'm not going to do this to be real clean like I did on my other one, because this is a tutorial. But you guys can take your time and, make sure it's nice and clean and all that good stuff, that you don't have glue everywhere. And you're going to take, oops, I don't want glue on my mat. You're going to take the piece and you are going to glue it on top of that little 5/16. So you're going to make like a little rectangle box. Make sure it's lined up all the way to the edge, like this. So I'm going to hold that one for a minute. And I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to hold it for a minute. Make sure it adheres. And the reason I give myself that little extra, I say 7 9/16, because I like for there to be a little extra for my, my box is going to sit on it, and it's going to take up a little bit of that room, because I'm not sticking it to the side, I'm sticking it on top. So the bottom piece has to be just a little bit longer than this piece right here. So see right there how it's lined up? I'm going to hold that for a minute, just so it'll set a little bit. And again, guys, don't worry, this is a temporary hold. You want to make sure that everything is nice and straight. So there's one section already, guys. Okay, I want to make this really, really strong. So we're going to go back and add another piece, which I did not cut out. Dadgummit. So don't throw away your scraps because you are going to need them. So now we're going to take another one of those pieces, which is this one, the 5x10, and mine are already all pre-scored. So I'm just going to fold that in. I'm going to add glue, and I'm going to keep piling them up till I get to the last one. Hopefully we won't run out of time. And I'm going to build up, I'm going to say I'm going to do at least 3 before I add a side to them. Or I'll do this one, then we'll add the side to them. That way you guys will get the gist of what I'm doing. So all I'm doing is I'm adding the glue. Again, you guys could use hot glue, the Beacon, whatever your preferred glue is. Just not regular white glue, because I don't think that would do a very good job. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up right at the edge of the previous one. Make sure everything's lined up. Oops. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. Let me just let it set for a minute. And when I put my box down, it kind of makes sure that it's, you know, level. And like this one isn't off a little bit because I'm pressing it down into my frame. So it keeps everything flush. Come on. See how they're just level there. And that's what you want. After this one, I am going to add a side so you guys can see what I'm doing. And this will help you to just, you can glue them faster this way. Same thing on here. See how they're flush? And again, this is just a temporary hold. There and there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take one of the sides, which measure, the ones that measure 5 by 7 9/16. If you're using the 7.5, then it would be the 5 by 7.5. So I'm going to take 2 of these because remember I told you these are the top and the bottom and the side. So that's why we needed 4. So I'm going to take 2. I'm going to set the last one aside because that's going to be my back. And we're going to adhere these to the side. Are you seeing it, guys? Are you seeing what we're doing? So this is what we're going to do. And again, this is a temporary hold, so you don't have to worry. So I'm going to turn this on the side, and I'm going to add my glue. I'm going to add plenty of glue so I can adhere the side to this, especially here where the seam is. Right here, if you had like a tacky glue, I think would work here because tacky glue is pretty thick. So I think you could use tacky glue here. So I'm going to set it down before I add my side to it because I want to make sure that it's flush at the bottom. Hold it there for a second. I'll turn it this way to make sure it's flush right up here, but also at the bottom. That's why I stood it up first. So you want it to be flush. That's why you want your measurements to be as exact as possible. That looks pretty good. So there's one. Now I'm going to turn it on its side, and I'm going to add glue to this side, and I'm going to add the other side to it. And that's going to make it easier for us to line up the rest of the little shelving. I'm telling you guys, this was really, really simple to create. I was just sitting here separating some of my findings. I like to take them out of the original packaging And I took out a bunch of little extra boxes that I had, and this just, the Lord just put this thought in my mind, and I thought, wow, that would work. That's a great idea. And I loved it. So I'm going to turn it on the side, make sure it's flush. And see how this warps like this when I push it? I actually added to mine, I added another piece of chipboard at the bottom. And you could put clips here if you wanted to. Let me wipe some of this glue off. If you wanted to, you could add some of those clips to just hold it in place for you. I have some, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I know you guys can see what we're doing here. So now we're going to take the next one remember the 6 that we cut out with the dip in them? And we're going to glue these in, and you're going to see how fast. I don't know how many minutes we're to. You're going to see how fast this box is going to go. So again, I'm just going to add glue to the side of this. On both ends. Come on. This little tab is in my way. So we're going to add glue here. I'm thinking the Aleene's Tacky Glue will work really well too. So I'm just going to bend these in, guys, because I don't want to get glue on all the sides. And just slide it into place. When I get it to the bottom, then I'll let go. Just coming undone off the bottom. So if you have clips might be a good idea, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. Maybe I should get one for the bottom. There you go. Here's one. So these are the clips that I'm talking about. The bottom piece on mine seems to be on one of the sides, wants to come off. So I'm just going to add that clip there until it sets. Okay, there's another one. The next one, again, remember these are pre-scored at 1 1¼ inch on either side, and all I do is bend it, but it's still attached. Again, I'm going to add the glue. Once you start putting all the pieces, I know I'm out of frame for the glue, but you guys have seen me add glue. You don't need to see me continue to add glue. You guys get the gist of it. Again, I'm going to push these in so as not to get glue on everything, and just slide that piece in place. Make sure they are all the way down, but they don't go past the previous one that you put in there. So you guys can see what it's looking like. See, it's all the way down, but it's sitting on top of the previous shelf. You got to be careful, because sometimes it'll want to slide into the side on the bottom of the previous one, and you don't want it. You just want it to sit right on top. And we're going to actually fit when it dries and everything. You won't have to worry about that. And we are going to insert some little strips of chipboard in between these little sections to give it more stability, to give the shelf more stability. So there's that one. We got 2 more to go. Here's another one. Again, I'm just going to cut it off. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to pause the video here because I see that I'm at 20-something minutes, and I want to make sure it doesn't cut off. And if it did cut off, then we're going to have another part. So we're going to have more than the parts that I wanted to have. But I won't delete anything. Everything will be there, all the process. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back and watch part 2 where we can finish this up. It's as you can see, it's very simple to make. Bye.